Welcome to Real Horror Case Files, where I, Salva, tell you all about the most horrific and terrifying true crime and paranormal stories from around the world. Joining me, as always, is the lovely Chantal.
Hi, everyone.
How goes it?
Um, it goes.
It goes.
Yeah, today was the commute was terrible to get to school because they were doing construction and yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Well, um, let's talk about something haunted.
All right, let's do it.
So for today's episode, it's a little light and fluff, not light and fluffy because they're never light and fluffy, but it's not as heavy as the last couple.
The
Like the
past.
last episode we did was pretty okay. This one, um, it's, I mean, people died, but it's not a true crime. It's a haunted place. Um,
Okay.
but I do have to warn people that I do talk and mention um, the topic of suicide. So, viewer and listener discretion is advised. Yes. So let's talk about Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
I had no idea that we were going to be talking about this today. I just watched the Sam and Colby episode.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect timing then. So, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is located in Louisville, Kentucky. The sanatorium operated from 1910 to 1962 with the specific reason of housing tuberculosis patients. So, due to the number of patients overwhelming Kentucky hospitals across the state, they decided to build what was originally just a two-story wooden structure that opened in July on July 26, 1910. But as tuberculosis started to spread more quickly, they needed to expand the sanatorium, and by October of 1926, it had expanded to what it is today, which is 5 floors. So, before we get into the actual building, are you good?
Yeah, I was counting 5. I was trying to see how big that is. I was trying to picture it in my
Oh,
head. So I was like,
it
okay,
is a
1,
very
2,
big building.
3, 4, 5. Yeah. Wow.
Yes,
That's massive.
it's a very big building. So before we get into like any further into the actual building and the history behind it, let's talk a little bit about what tuberculosis is, or also commonly known as TB. So TB is a airborne disease that affects the lungs. It is spread when people cough, sneeze, or spit. It is also a disease. It is still a disease to be worried about today because in 2021, the World Health Organization documented 10.6 million people, in fact, were infected with TB. Some symptoms for you to look out for are prolonged cough, chest pain, weakness or fatigue, weight loss, fever, and nightly sweats that will start off mild for months. And if treatment is delayed, which does happen a lot because people will just think it's a common cold, then there is an increase in spreading the infection to others.
Yeah. Anytime you work in like any type of healthcare, you have to get tested for TB. I
Hmm.
did when I used to do OTA PTA,
Yeah.
occupational therapist assistant, physiotherapist assistant. You would have to get tested for TB before you could work in any kind of healthcare field because it's
Hmm.
still a very big, I guess, disease that a lot of people can get.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a curable disease with antibiotics now, and it usually lasts about 6 months. And like I said, there is a vaccine for it, which is good, but there was not when all of this was happening in the early um, 20th century. So, due to TB being very
Yeah,
contagious, Waverly Hills Sanatorium was built so that it can operate on its own and not rely on others coming in. So, all staff and all patients permanently lived there. Health, healthy children of parents and staff were housed in a separate wing of the facility. They grew their own food, they raised their own animals, and had their own post office and even its own zip code.
goodness.
So, one of
I
the
know that
most
they were there because
mhm.
they were sick, but that sounds, like, great. Like, to
Basically,
be in your own
if
kinda isolated area?
if you were sent to work to Waverly Hills, or if you were sent there as a patient, you basically were just saying bye to your family for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
Yeah,
people, even nurses and doctors, fell ill. Because it's an airborne
yeah.
disease, you know what I mean? Like, and they didn't have any kind of
They
cure.
didn't know much about it.
Yes. Yeah, it was
They didn't know
still
much about it back in the day. Like, I know that they had a lot of treatments that today were, like, it's very barbaric, but back
oh,
in the day, they didn't
we're
have.
gonna get into that.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, like, back in the day, they had no idea.
No, none at all. So you just
Mhm,
have to
it's
keep
quite
that in
sad,
mind. Like,
but, I mean,
this facility was made for you to permanently live there, regardless if you got it or not, and regardless if you got
right,
better or not. Because
exactly.
chances of you getting better were slim to none.
Yeah, but also, it's best to isolate than to, like,
Yeah.
be still in the main population getting people sick.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think the whole idea of it is good, but what they did to help patients, we'll get into in a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hold on,
but,
you
I
like
mean, I don't know, today's day and age, I think I would like to be isolated from the, community.
just to get away from everyone,
Just
you
to go
know?
just, like, every once in a while, just go out and go to, like, a random building that's very self-sufficient that I don't need to go out into the world just for, like, a couple weeks and then
Mhm.
come back.
I would
I mean,
think
I know that these
like
people didn't
back
have that option,
then,
it was very unfortunate.
yeah, but back then like the whole facility was state of the art. Like if you really think about it,
Yeah,
it's the fact that it was self-sufficient and like they had their own animals, they had their own post office. You know what I mean? Like nobody had to come in and nobody had to go out.
and considering they had no idea how to cure this disease, I feel like they tried to do the best they could. I mean, obviously, there were quite a few people who used that to their, like, advantage in a very evil way,
Mhm.
but I feel like quite a few people, tried to make the best out of a terrible situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one of the most prominent features of the sanatorium is the 500-foot long tunnel from the first floor to the bottom of the hill, also known as the body chute. Originally, it was
Yeah,
used to bring supplies to up to the building, but also to bring the deceased out discreetly so other patients will not see.
I
Um,
mean, if I was there, I
mhm.
wouldn't wanna see how many people were passing away.
You're already
I would want it
surrounded
to be
by
behind the scenes.
such sadness and such sickness. I
Exactly.
understand having a body shoot.
Right? Like, I wouldn't wanna see, like, all the people who unfortunately passed away being
Yeah.
carted through the hallways.
And
I'd prefer it to be discreet.
it's not like they're just dumping them down there. Like they're taking them down there like on like a
A gurney, right?
yes, yeah, that's what I was trying to find the word for that. A
Yeah.
gurney. So it's not like they're just throwing them down there.
It's not like a slip and slide.
Yeah, yeah.
They're taking them down there nice and oh god. I just thought of
That's
slip and slide and all I'm picturing now are the ghosts going down the tunnel. Just it's been a long day, guys, I'm
listen,
sorry.
that someone needs to do art of that. Of specifically, right? Okay, this is how I want it to be, okay? I want there to be a picture of the two of us as ghosts sliding down the body chute at Waverly Hills. Just going, wee!
And just into the darkness at the bottom.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh god. Because now that's all I can picture now that I said that, like
That would be fun. If that's how you
it
spend
would
all
be
of
fun,
eternity,
right?
why not?
I mean, I hope these
Anyways,
ghosts don't feel, like, any pain and death, and they can kind of enjoy their lives in a way they couldn't when they were alive, you know?
well, there is one. We'll get into it later.
Oh, no, don't break my heart like this.
So records say that 8,212 people died at the sanatorium, but it is hard to tell since they didn't really keep a good record of anything back then. And I like during my research, I read it was as high as 15,000, but I I don't know if it was actually that high.
Right, because
It
I
could
mean,
have, but
especially when was this
I don't know. The
sorry,
from the 20s to the
when was this
60s.
again? Right, so
19
record keeping wasn't the best.
Yeah, from 1910 to
Yeah.
1962. So, let's talk about the treatment of patients.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Um, warning for
It's gonna be
people,
sad, I feel like.
warning for people who are squeamish and do not like hearing about gross things that have to do with your body and the treatment of patients during um times where medical stuff wasn't as advanced as it is now. So this is your warning for that. Um, Physicians often prescribed rest, fresh air, and sunlight as a way to cure TB, but they took this quite seriously and often had patients go outside regardless of the season. So you'll, if you
And
search,
it got cold.
it's Kentucky, like it does snow in Kentucky.
Yeah.
If you search Waverly Hills Sanatorium, um, often you will find pictures of rows and rows of patients in their beds, bundled up in blankets, outside with snow on the ground.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's sad because I think they truly believe that fresh air was like the way to cure TB.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they didn't have anything else. Like, what else were they going to go off of?
Yeah, they didn't and
Because
they
it's
didn't
so
have Tuberculosis
tuberculosis is like a
the same, like,
bacterial
technology
disease.
that we do.
Yeah, so it's a bacterial disease that affects your lungs, so they assumed, okay, well, you just need to get fresh air to go into your lungs to get rid of that bacteria. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So that's I in a way I get it, but like in winter, you're just gonna get people who are like already suffering to be out in the cold. This is like
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think they knew they didn't
they
know
didn't
any
know.
better, I don't think. Like,
They didn't know.
they literally went with I mean, most of the time, not accounting for some outliers who were took advantage of the situation, but most of the time they truly did what they thought would help.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, now we know nowadays that that did not help.
Nope.
But, they did their best, I think, and it's unfortunate because a lot of people had to pay for, them not really knowing.
Yeah. Do you want to hear other ways? that was
Sure, that's
the tame
okay, I'm
version.
ready.
Okay, prepare yourself.
Yeah, I'm ready. I know there's worse
Okay.
ones.
I feel like these are gradually going to get worse and worse as I go through them.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, let's just go through them all.
Patients had their lungs partially removed or collapsed to let the organ quote unquote rest. They placed other Another method was them placing little balloons inside the lung to stretch them. They would also remove ribs and muscles to make space for the lungs. They even did lobectomy, where they removed the entire lobe of the lung, and this one, like, very, very few survived this.
Yeah.
The most extreme, in my opinion, is in the sanatorium, they had a specific area of rooms called sunrooms, where they would take patients, open up their chests, and expose their lungs to ultraviolet light to stop the bacteria from spreading. This was the
Yeah.
last resort possible. So basically, they had their chest completely wide open, organs exposed, everything exposed, so that the UV light can kill the bacteria. Yeah.
Yeah. It sucks because they were kind of like okay, don't come at me, but they were kind of on the right track. Like we do use UV light to heal like wounds and stuff, but not
Mhm.
like that. Like not like with your
Well, no,
lungs
they don't
exposed and
open your
stuff.
entire
Like
chest to
they
get
don't
at.
no. Like a lot of the stuff they were kind of on the right track, but they
Mhm.
went about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And like they do I can't remember what it's called, but there's a way to oxygenate blood so that you can give your lungs a rest so that they can recover.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called. I don't even quote me on that because I could be completely wrong, but a lot of these tactics, like, do end up becoming ways in the medical field that we use to heal people,
Mhm.
just not in the same technique. Like, it's been refined, especially with as technology comes, so they were doing the best that they could, they were along the right track, but it was just very extreme and desperate, I feel like, ways to go about it because they had no other way to treat people, and it's just so sad because unfortunately the victims ended up pretty much paying the price for it,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it was just a very painful, like, way to ooh, there's a fly. Just a very painful a very painful way to, like,
Yeah.
live out the rest of your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very sad to think that if they lived today, they probably wouldn't have had the same amount of suffering, you know?
Yeah.
It's sad to think about
I
that.
think there were cases where people did live through that, but, like, I can't even imagine you being the same person after all that, you know what I mean? Like, there has
Right?
to
It's
be
like
some
all the
kind of
PTSD you probably got
repercussion.
too,
Yes, and there has to be some kind of physical repercussions with your body having to deal with all of that afterwards, like, the pain that you must feel through.
yeah.
Like, listen, collapsing someone's lung, my cousin had, this happened years ago, his lung collapsed, and he had to, um, have, like, a bag attached to him with, like, a tube that go that went to his lungs to kind of, I don't know how it, like,
Reinflate it?
yes, yeah, reinflate it basically. But if he coughed, it hurt. He couldn't lie down to sleep. He had to sit up to sleep. So he had to, like,
Ooh,
build himself basically like a fort so that he wouldn't, like, in the middle of the night while he was sleeping, kind of lay back
fall
down.
over, yeah.
So it just to recover from that is painful. Having to actually, like,
Yeah.
do, like, go through your lung collapsing is,
Especially in the 20s, what was this, the
yeah.
20s to the 50s? Like, healthcare definitely was not what it is
No.
today, and I mean, even today, healthcare could be better, but,
Yeah.
That's a whole different topic. But, like, still, like, even even, like even, like, back in process to recover than it is today,
Mhm.
and a lot more painful because they didn't have the same technology as we do today. A lot of
No.
the times, they probably didn't even know that, like, sitting up is the best way to recover if your lung is collapsed. They probably
Yeah.
would have had them lying down.
Yes.
And just to have to be the person to recover from that, like, the PTSD first of all, from living in a place like this, right? Because 'Cause you're most likely hearing everybody else's pain and you're feeding off of their fear and
Yeah.
everything as well.
Yeah.
Um, but also the isolation would have been another thing because, like, you didn't like you said, you didn't have contact with your family, and most of the times, it probably wasn't a a choice. They
Mhm.
didn't have a choice but to isolate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, despite all that, during World War II, the number of cases did decrease. However, when soldiers came back home, a lot of them did have and contract TB, so they ended up staying at the sanatorium to get better. With the invention of the TB antibiotic, the number of patients started to decline, and the sanatorium was actually shut down in 1961, but then reopened in 1962 as the Woodhaven Geriatric Center for the Elderly and Severely Disabled. But that closed in 1982 because of neglect and treatment of patients. So,
Yeah.
I mean, considering the fact like this, it was open for 50 years.
Mhm.
That's it really isn't a whole it's not a long time really.
Yeah, and to have that many people die, I mean, obviously, a lot of people died because not only was it a place where people went when they were sick,
Mhm.
but it was also like a what was it, a geriatric institute? So, like, there was a lot
It
of
was af
elderly people.
it was after
So,
they after the TB cases.
after it closed, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like this place is like a place where a lot of people went just to kinda pass on. It's like they lived their last few days there, and it's just really sad because, I mean, the geriatric institute closed down because of neglect, which in and of itself is sad because, these people trusted these people to, help them in their final
Mhm.
moments, and they didn't.
Yeah. So, after 1982, what happened to the sanatorium? Basically, they abandoned it. They
Mhm.
they closed it down and that was that. But because of the history and rumors emerging of it being supposedly haunted, it became a place where a lot of teenagers would break into to see for themselves and get a little thrill out of it. So the
Oh,
building
those teenagers.
the building sat unoccupied for a very long time and it became home to a lot of graffiti and other vandalism, as well as a place for homeless people to stay. In March of 1996, Waverly Hills and the surrounding area was purchased by Robert Al- Alberhasky, who ran Christian the Redeemer Foundation, Inc., and he wanted to raise $4 million to build a statue of Jesus to put in the middle of the sanatorium, like in the front area there.
Were were the people staying at the sanatorium, like, all one religion? Was it like a religious institute?
I
Like,
don't
institution?
believe so.
So then that doesn't make sense, and he should put up a memorial for the people who worked and
Listen,
passed away there, you
Chantal,
know?
Chantal. I'm not gonna get into it. It's just too much.
I feel like putting a religious icon in a building that is not from one specific faith doesn't make sense. They should honor um, the people who work there and the patients who passed away, like, as a
Yeah.
tribute. like,
for the
especially to the patients
for
who
the low,
pass.
low price of $4 million. It
$4,000,000.
I just
That
wanna
seems like a
know,
lot to build a statue of
how big
Jesus.
did he want the statue to be for him to want it to for him to spend $4 million on the statue? How big was it
Right?
going to be?
'Cause it
Like,
was a
are we
statue it was supposed to be a
talking
statue of Jesus, right?
yeah, like, are we talking the
Like
Rio de Janeiro Jesus
yeah, that's what I was
statue?
thinking. The Rio
'Cause,
de Janeiro
like,
one, yeah.
right?
Oh my
That's what
god.
when I hear $4 million for a statue, that's what I picture.
Right? That's
'Cause
what I
it's
picture too because,
huge.
like, that's an insane amount.
Yeah.
That's an insane amount. Like, they should yeah, they, that's
But
that's
so
pretty
on
fucked up.
top of this, the $4 million statue that he wanted to build, he also wanted to raise another $8 million to turn the sanatorium to a chapel, theater, and gift shop. But do you want to guess how much money he raised in a year?
Um, I'm gonna say $5. I'm gonna lowball it.
$3,000.
Oh, that's way more than I honestly, like, I honestly thought that maybe
Listen,
max he
Chantal,
would have gotten
if
1,000, but
this guy can raise $3,000 in a year, we can raise
we can
$3,000 to
raise
go ghost hunting at Waverly Place.
Waverly Place, Waverly
At
Hills
Waverly
Sanatorium.
Hills. Every time I hear this story, I think of Waverly Wizards on Waverly Place
Yeah, me
because
too.
it's just in the name.
It's just the name, it's just
It's
the
just the
name.
name.
Yeah, but, like, that's just crazy to me because 8,000,000 I understand for, like, upkeep of the building, not so much for, like, renovating it into a theater and a chapel and, like, a gift shop, that's weird to me because 'cause you're profiting, like yeah, it's, like, it's weird to do that when that's not the intended, like, use of the building, but I guess you wanna give it new life and something happy.
I
But also, like,
guess.
8,000,000 to me makes sense for renovating a building.
Especially
4,000,000
that
does not make
size.
sense for a statue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
Yeah.
4,000,000 is half the price of what it would take to renovate the building. Like, to
Yeah.
me, it makes more sense for this guy to take the building and, like, turn it into something happier, than the history it's had to give, like, because 'cause I'm sure the spirits around probably don't wanna be hearing all these sad stories, you know?
Mhm.
They don't wanna be sad in the afterlife like they were probably in their living life, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like even if it was a theater, they'd probably be like, "Oh, this is kind of like a nice change of pace." I mean, again, I'm not a spirit, I can't speak for the spirits, but I as if I were to be a spirit, this is kind of what I would like, something
Yeah.
happy. So I could see that, but like a statue for 4,000,000, I just can't get my head around that.
It's
That's
what he
crazy.
wanted, but
That's wild.
he never got even close to his goal, so that nothing came of
Yeah.
that. So in
Yeah.
2001, it was nearly demolished because it was just an empty building and too many people were coming in and out, breaking in and all that. So they were like, let's just get rid of it. But Charlie and Tina Mattingly purchased the building and saved it from being demolished. And
Yeah.
I believe, don't quote me on this, they are still the owners. And today they offer tours, both public and private, paranormal investigations, and even turn it into a haunted house attraction during Halloween. So the question is whether or not it's actually haunted. Um,
Do you believe it's haunted?
I believe with, and I've seen a lot of paranormal investigations where they investigated Waverly Hills, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of compelling stuff, a lot of stuff that you kind of have to question a little bit.
Question, yeah.
But I think with just how much history is behind it, regardless of the fact that, like, yes, it was a hospital for TB patients, but how the way that they treated those TB patients, there's so much trauma there and so much negativity in that
Yeah.
for me
Yeah.
to not say for sure that it's not haunted. You know what I mean?
I Yeah, like, whether I believe it's haunted or not, I always strongly believe that people leave an imprint wherever they go. So whether it's actually haunted or not, I do believe that there is at least an imprint of the past there that
Mhm.
still, like, kind of remains. Obviously, I've never, ghost hunted there before. I mean, I haven't ghost hunted, period, but, maybe one day we will, and then we can see for sure whether it's haunted or not. Because
Yeah.
I very much believe, in, like, residual hauntings where, like, ghosts
Mhm.
are just going through their everyday life back in the time because they believe it's back in the time. I
Yeah.
very much do believe in that as well, like, and I feel like that might be more so what's happening in this location from what I've seen on ghost shows, but
Mhm.
then again, there's a lot there where I'm like, "This could also be debunked, but this is also very strange, and I do not know what else it could possibly be other than, a spirit
Yeah.
communicating and
Yeah.
trying to get their story out, you know?"
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, a lot of people have reported hearing doors slamming, disembodied voices, and footsteps throughout the sanitarium. Sanatorium. Um, on the roof, people have heard children singing "Ring Around the Rosie," which
That's very creepy.
is so creepy.
So creepy. Like, okay, you know in horror movies, they'll always have children singing, like, those
Ring
nursery rhymes and
around a
around.
rosy, a basket
Yes.
full of
But not even
posy.
just that
Oh,
one, they
oh.
always do, like, the most innocent songs too, like, there was one I can't remember which movie it was, which trailer it was, but it was, like, "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," and I was like, "I used to like that song, now I'm always gonna think of it
But
as a
when you
creepy
hear
song."
the actual like history behind Ring Around the Rosie, you know
It's dark.
they're talking about what is it, the plague?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
plague.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like every single nursery rhyme, even,
They're
like,
so dark.
London Bridge as well. London Bridge is
London Bridge is falling
falling
down.
down,
Yep.
falling down. Yeah, it's like every single nursery rhyme has some sort of, like, sad aspect to it, and
They're
then horror
they're
movies use
they're
it
like
and make it
cautious
super
tales.
creepy.
They're cautious
Yeah,
tales, right? Like it's
except for what's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? Like, that doesn't sound very.
I don't know. I know
Yeah,
Rockabye
but, I
Baby
mean.
is about like the fear of dropping your baby.
Oh, was it? I thought it was fear of, like, sudden infant passing,
Oh, maybe something like
like that.
that. Yeah, yeah, yes, along those lines.
But also, I haven't done very much research into that one, so I
I
don't
don't.
know. I do know Humpty Dumpty is about it's not about an actual person, it's about a giant cannon that used to sit on a wall, and then a cannonball hit underneath it, and it fell and cracked, and because it was such a big cannon and so heavy, they couldn't lift it back to where it was before, so they just left it.
All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know that. That's actually
Yeah. Yeah, like, I remember doing a deep dive of it in high school. Like, it was, like, a big thing, like, I
the
don't know
more
why I
you
became
know.
obsessed with that particular nursery rhyme, but, like, I did a huge deep dive and, like, that was what it was.
Interesting, the more you know.
Yeah.
So, in the kitchen, some have reported smelling freshly baked bread, which I would only get mad because I couldn't eat the bread, but I wouldn't mind
Me
it.
too.
You know what I mean?
There's
And they
there's a freaking fruit fly flying around and I can't get it, and it's driving me nuts. Oh god, I'm seeing it, like, freaking flying around.
um
Sorry, yeah,
anyways,
but
so
fresh bread, I would be
yeah.
pissed I couldn't eat it too, like, I love the smell of
Yeah.
fresh bread.
And so with the smell of freshly baked bread, people reportedly see an apparition of a man dressed in a white coat, which to me seems to be,
Screams chef.
yes, the chef. On the third floor is the children's wing, and there you can find a little girl with no eyes, and also a little boy named Timmy,
Timmy.
who likes to
He's the
play.
one with the little bouncy ball thing that he
Yes, he
likes to
likes
play
to
with,
play
right?
with, if you throw his ball, he may or may not throw it back. Yeah.
I haven't
Um,
played catch in so long, honestly. Trying to remember the last time I played catch.
I would probably fail so bad.
We would both probably fail. We'd throw the ball and it just fall right in front of us.
Oh.
We'd throw it and then it just like fall.
Um, near the sunrooms. Oh, this is the part where I'm like, there's a ghost that may or may not be in pain. Near the sunrooms, a woman is often seen with bloody wrists running through the halls screaming for help.
Oh, the poor woman.
Yeah, that to
Is
me
wait, is it a
screams
woman or is it a
residual.
male?
It's a woman.
Do we know? Okay, yeah, the poor yeah, that sucks because she has to
Hmm.
live out the rest of her, like,
I think that is
spirit
a residual
life.
ghost in that instance.
In
Yeah,
that instance, yeah. That's so sad.
it is. Yeah. From the outside of the building, lights have been seen going on in rooms throughout, which is very strange because there is absolutely no electricity running through the building at all.
Okay, interesting.
Apparitions have also been seen in doorways and shadow people throughout the building. Even a phantom horse in the back of the building, where it is said to be waiting for bodies to take from the tunnel.
So ghost horse?
Yeah,
I've never heard of a ghost horse before.
I've heard
I've
of
heard, like,
ghost
of a ghost cat.
hats, ghost
I've heard a ghost
dogs.
cat, ghost fly I heard once, and I was like, "Okay, there, how do you know it's a ghost?" But anyways, um, I've never heard of ghost horse. That's
Yeah,
kind of exciting. I mean, the poor horse is, like, waiting to do its job for eternity, which that sucks. I wouldn't wanna be working for an eternity,
yeah.
as a spirit.
I kind of picture the ghost horse to be like the horses from the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion.
Oh, yeah, like, with the carriage?
Yes, that's what I picture.
Yeah, the poor horses. They deserve a break too.
Yes, they do. Now let's talk about the most famous and haunted room in the entire sanitarium, okay?
Okay.
Sanatorium. Um, and this is where the suicide warning comes in.
Oh,
So,
is this with the nurse? I don't know. Okay, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
the
Let's
most
do it.
haunted and famous place in the entire sanatorium is room 502 on the fifth floor. Nurse Mary Hillenberg committed suicide in the room in 1928 by hanging herself with a light fixture. Rumor has it she was pregnant with the doctor's child, and being an unmarried woman and pregnant as well as the fact that she would have to raise the child surrounded by tuberculosis patients, that was the reason why she unalived herself.
Yeah. Was there any like um I can't remember, but people there was a rumor where people were saying this might not have been they weren't sure if this was 100% true just because there was no like documented proof, so they're
There's
not
no
sure
so
they're not fully sure about the whole details of the story, right?
Yeah, it's so unclear about whether or not this is actually true. And even this next one. So in 1932, another nurse took her own life in the same room by jumping out the window. And the rumor is that she was actually pushed. But even with that
Okay.
one, there is no proof or documentation of either of those instances happening.
Right, so we can't say 100% sure whether these
Yeah.
things happened or
It
not.
may have
Right.
happened. We don't know for certain, but I think with the years of people speculating that it's haunted and people wanting to believe that it's haunted, they may
Yeah.
have spiced it up a
And that
little, but
and that I also very much believe in where one rumor gets started. I mean, not saying that this is a rumor, but if one person says, "Oh, this place is haunted," then you have hundreds of thousands of people coming through believing that it's haunted. I feel like that creates an energy
well, that's
there
we've had
that
this
creates the haunting.
conversation. We've had this conversation many times on this show
Mhm.
already. Like I I truly do believe that sometimes things may not initially start off being haunted, but with the amount of people coming through and the amount of energy people are putting into the building, that it becomes haunted.
Yeah, and I believe that too, because like,
And
there's a
you also,
lot there's a lot of paranormal stories where they're like, there's a rumor that this person was here and they died, and they'll get in contact with this person, but there's no actual proof that that person ever actually lived there or
mhm,
had any association with that area.
yeah. I think too, with the when people do paranormal investigations, people do certain rituals that open and close doors.
Mhm, and
And
invite things
sometimes
in.
sometimes doors do not get closed properly,
Yeah,
and it gives people a way in.
yeah. That I very much believe that as well. Like, one yeah, like, yeah. I feel like there's a lot of I'm just running through my head all of the ghost shows I've watched lately, and I'm like, a lot of them, they're like, "Yeah, they did the seance," and then, they got kicked out because things started getting crazy, and I'm like, "Well, did you close? Did you close the Ouija board, or did you leave it open?" Because that just leaves the door open for things to come in.
You know what I just thought of? Sorry, because we just shout out to Sam and Colby. They don't know us, but we know them because we're huge
Yeah.
fans. And I would love to go on an investigation with them, by the way. But they just did their series of them being at the Conjuring house. And
That's what I was thinking of.
speaking of
That's
things not being closed, what if we're going to do an episode on The Conjuring because I'm just so fascinated by it. And I do want to read Andrea Perron's book on the
yeah.
events that happened. But what if during the seance that the Warrens were doing, they didn't close the seance properly?
That's exactly what I
And
was
that's why
thinking.
it's so haunted now.
Girl, we're on the same, like, wavelength, because
Oh
that's
God, I got
exactly what I was
chills all
thinking.
over.
Cause like, I didn't want to, like, say it in like, outright, cause I was like,
This is
you
just
know,
us speculating. We're not
but
saying for sure that this is what
but
happened,
it's
but
not yeah, but,
it's
like,
it's
if they
speculation.
didn't close it properly, cause that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking of the Conjuring house and the seance that they did, like, if they didn't close it properly, they would have left that portal open.
Yeah. By the way, go and watch their four-part series
That was
on The
crazy.
Conjuring House. It got like, and it'll be creepy, but like look behind them in certain.
Oh, there were so many things that they missed,
There
like,
were so
behind
many
oh,
things and so many things where
yes.
I was watching and I'm like, did I just see that right? Am I going
Yeah,
crazy? Or did they actually like
yeah.
catch something and didn't notice at all?
The basement thing when they came upstairs and
Oh God,
the
I think
basement
of
door
that
was
like
open
every
and there was that
day.
little thing in the
We're
bottom
not gonna
corner
say
of the
any
basement.
spoilers
Oh,
or anything, but yeah,
keep an eye
just
out.
like keep an eye
Anyways,
out. It's like a Where's
back to the
Waldo episode.
sanatorium. Yeah, it is. Back to the sanatorium. I feel like that still very much applies here, where
Yes.
things could have been opened and left opened because they either didn't close it or they didn't close it
'Cause you
properly.
gotta think the amount
So
of
then it allowed
teenagers,
hauntings to come
yeah,
in.
you gotta think the amount of teenagers that broke in just to like check it out. And like,
Yeah,
teenagers, they're like, let's do a Ouija board, it'll be fun, ha ha ha. Do
yeah.
you really think teenagers know how to properly use that thing?
No, and they probably wouldn't do I mean, we did when we didn't use a Ouija board, but we talked about it and we did research for it. You weren't there yet, I don't
I
think.
wasn't
I think this
there,
was grade 9.
and regardless of it, I would never.
We
I
were
have
like, because
no interest in touching a Ouija board.
we didn't actually use a Ouija board, but we were like, "Let's use a Ouija board just to see what it's like," and then we did, like, all the research, and then we were doing the research, and we're like, "This is too much work, never mind." Because we were doing the research we were literally doing the research on how to do it properly and how to, like, keep ourselves safe, and
Yeah.
then we were like, this is a lot of work, never mind."
Oh, I got chills. Anyways, um, yes.
So, I
So,
mean, you can see we were lazy teenagers. Oh, goodness.
um, sorry. Back to room 502. Years after the two nurses had unalived themselves, a homeless man was murdered in the room by a drug gang.
Wow.
So this room in particular has a lot of negative energy and vibes, and people have often heard a disembodied voice screaming, "Get out."
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
I do not like that at all. I'd get out. I'd be like, "Oh, yep, you want me out?
I
I'm
would leave too.
gone.
Yep.
I'm
Oh,
out
right
the
away, sir.
door, down the street. I'm back in a
I'm
different country already."
on a
Like,
plane leaving.
yeah, I'm gone. I'm way gone. Like,
Yeah.
you'll still be like at the first get, I'll be gone. You'll be standing there and I'll be like I'll be like the roadrunner gone down the street, out the building.
And that's it. That's all I have.
That's like it's both sad, scary, and weird to think about, like, you know?
Mhm.
Because it's sad to think that these people have to live in their spirit form in pain, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of these spirits, when they shout, "Get out," they just wanna be left alone.
I
Like, they've
think
been in so
so.
much pain in their real life that they just wanna be, left alone,
Mhm.
and there's so many people coming through being like, "What's your story?" Like, all this stuff that they just hear the same thing over and over again. When
Yeah.
we go, I'm gonna ask them what their favorite foods are, what their favorite dinosaurs are, I'm gonna throw them for a loop.
We'll play with Timmy.
I'm Yeah, we'll throw the ball at Timmy and see what he does. Maybe we'll bring, like, a fire truck or something for him.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe he's sick and tired of playing ball and he's like, "Can't these people, like, come up with something more creative for me?" Maybe I'll bring advanced algebra. He's a kid, he's gotta learn. No, I'm not that mean. I would never. I would never. That's just too mean.
That is
But, like, like,
terrible. I would
I feel
never
like
want to spend the rest of my eternity doing
doing
fucking
advanced algebra,
algebra.
that would piss me off too, not gonna lie. But, like, I feel like a lot of these ghosts are just sick and tired of having to tell their story over and over and over again. So I think if we do something different, they might be more open
Maybe
to
they just want
talking.
people to talk to.
Yeah.
Not even about like their history. Let's
Right.
just
That's
like
why I'm
have a
like
conversation like, "Hey, how
like
was your day?
yeah, what's your favorite food?
What do
Like
you want to do like what do you have
yeah.
plans? Do you have plans? Cuz maybe we can
Yeah,
help
are
you
you
make
gonna
that
go
happen."
do you wanna go for a walk? Is that what you want? But, you have no one to go for a walk with? Like,
Yeah.
do you need a hug?
Let's just
Are you
chill.
okay?
Let's like oh my god. Okay, let's do a whole movie night.
Yeah.
We'll set up
We'll
a
bring,
whole
like, a
projector
projector.
screen. Yes.
Yes.
We'll do it in
Yes.
the children's wing and we'll watch like a kids movie of today's age. It
Yeah,
may
like
blow their
Bluey.
minds because a lot of them grew up like were alive before movies, but
Right. But, I feel like a lot of these spirits probably don't wanna keep reliving or talk about, like, some of their most painful memories.
but I also think that some have the fear of people forgetting if they
Right.
don't. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's why I think we hear so many places get, like the next group of investigators go in and they get so much more activity than the first. And I think it's because they're feeding the spirits
Right,
more energy and
but
getting their story out there.
my question is, are the ghosts just responding to these questions because that's what the investigators are asking? Like, a lot of times they'll be very limited in their answers. Like, the spirits will be very limited in their answers, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, "Get out," or "I don't wanna talk anymore," and they'll just walk away. So, do you think that they're kind of getting tired of having to repeat the same thing over and over again?
You know what, Chantal? We'll test it
Yeah.
out when we
We'll
when
figure
we
we'll
go
figure it out.
when
We'll
we
figure
go
it out when we go.
when we go investigating. We'll like do that whole thing, but then like near the end of the night, we'll just be like, so like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite
Yeah, like,
color?
do you have, like, a favorite,
How
I
was
don't
your
know,
day
game?
today?
Yeah.
Besides us probing you with questions, tell us about your day.
Yeah. We'll ask them to rate us. Between a 1 to 10, give us a Yelp review. 1 to 10 stars.
On a
How was
scale
this
of 1 to
interview?
10, how much did you enjoy your experience with us today?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I have
Okay.
for today's
Well,
episode.
that was interesting, honestly. Like, there were some things there that I didn't know about. Like, I didn't know about the man who passed and was at room 505? 515?
502.
502. That was close enough.
Yeah.
50 like, I didn't know about him.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing about him, but I also could have just not been paying attention when I was watching the other ghost shows.
It's a good possibility, yeah.
I mean, you know me. I have to do things while I'm watching TV. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so thank you for watching and listening. Let us know if you think it's haunted and what your thoughts are on the whole haunting stuff. Yeah, in the
Yeah,
comments below.
haunting stuff. What are your thoughts on the, paranormal?
Yeah. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on the paranormal? Specifically with Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, share, subscribe, follow us on social media at Silvermatic Studios. Share this with 5 of your friends and get them to subscribe because if we get to 5,000 subscribers, we will set up a Patreon to get money and maybe we'll do a whole investigation at Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
Yeah,
They do it. They open it up.
they do.
Um, yeah. Stay spooky, stay sparkly, stay scared.
Toodles.
Toodles.